Okay, picture this, a classic American main street on a beautiful Saturday morning. You've got the storefronts, the clock tower, the little diner on the corner. It all tells a story, right? But in this age of social media, online reviews, and just being constantly connected, where is that story really being told anymore? Well, let's dive into that. So let's take a place like Titusville, Pennsylvania. I mean, its identity feels like it's literally carved into the stone of these gorgeous Victorian buildings. It's a solid story, a story of history, of an oil boom that totally shaped the community. It's something you can actually reach out and touch. But here's the thing. Is that physical history the whole story? Or is there this other, invisible narrative sort of pulsing just underneath it all? A digital one, made up of hashtags and reviews and Facebook posts that's actually shaping what this town means today. To really get our heads around this, we've got to look back at how we've always thought about the spirit of a place, and then see how the internet has just completely flipped the script. You know, the ancient Romans actually had a name for this, genius loci, which means the spirit of a place. They believed every single location had its own unique character, almost like a guardian spirit. And this spirit was expressed through things that were super stable and slow to change, like folklore passed down for generations or monuments in the town square. Okay, so fast forward to today. The digital revolution didn't get rid of that idea, it just put it on steroids. Now we have what you could call the digital loci. This is the modern spirit of a place, and it's defined by this nonstop, real-time flood of online stuff. You know, every single restaurant review, every Instagram story, every heated debate in the comments. And yeah, this chart here just lays it all out perfectly. We went from something static and slow to something that is incredibly fluid and dynamic. But the biggest change, it's who gets to tell the story. It's not just the town founders or historians anymore. Now, it's pretty much anyone with a smartphone. So if that's the new reality, how do you actually do anything with it? I mean, if we want to shape this new digital spirit, what tools do we even use? Well, it turns out there's a whole digital toolkit just waiting for us. And each one of these platforms has its own special job, right? Think of blogs as the town's searchable long-term memory. Instagram, that's your visual scrapbook, the daily mosaic of life. Facebook groups, well, that's the new town square for better or worse. Short-form video on TikTok or Reels, that's all about capturing the energy, the vibe. Podcasts are bringing back that old-school intimacy of oral history. And then you have stuff like interactive maps that are literally adding a digital layer right on top of our physical world. Okay, so that's all the theory, but what does this actually look like on the ground? Let's head back to Titusville, because they've put together a really practical playbook for reviving a main street using these exact tools. And honestly, it all boils down to a really simple 3-step strategy. First, you start telling the stories of your people online. Second, you use those stories to bring physical spaces, especially the empty ones, back to life. And third, you use all that momentum to build hype for actual real-world events. All right, so step 1 is absolutely crucial. It's all about shifting the conversation. An idea like the hands behind the counter, it uses great video and articles not to talk about sales, but to talk about passion. To ask, hey, why do you open this shop? What's the story behind this recipe? It completely shifts the focus from just a transaction to a real relationship. Suddenly you want to support the person, not just buy the product. Now for step 2, and this is where it gets really clever. You take a physical problem like empty storefronts, which can be a real downer, and you tackle it with a digital solution. The Empty Window Project turns those sad, vacant windows into a canvas for local artists. It transforms this sign of decay into a sign of creativity. But wait, this is where the magic happens. See, this is that moment where the real world and the digital world just click. Each piece of art has a QR code. You scan it with your phone and boom. It's not just some generic website. You unlock 3 different stories. One about the artist, another about the last business that was in that spot, and a third about the history of the building itself. That empty window, it's suddenly an interactive pop-up museum. How cool is that? So all of this really leads to a powerful conclusion about who's supposed to be doing all this work. And the answer might surprise you. It is not about hiring some fancy marketing agency. The stuff that really, truly works, it doesn't come from the top down. It bubbles up from the bottom. It's all about finding the storytellers who are already there in your community and just giving them a megaphone. This means if you're a community leader, your job totally changes. You stop being the main storyteller and you become the main supporter. Your job is to empower everyone else. You're helping the librarian get old photos online. You're buying the local blogger a cup of coffee. You're helping a shop owner figure out Instagram. You're basically the coach for the town's entire storytelling team. And that's really the big takeaway here. The line between our physical towns and their digital reflections, it's pretty much gone. Community is now a hybrid space. And that means the job of building it, of being an architect for its future, well, that belongs to all of us now. We're all building this thing together, brick by brick and pixel by pixel. So what story are you going to tell?